welcome to Highlights, a show where I recap something like it's sports, even though I know it's not. I'm not a sports fan myself, but reality competition shows give me the kind of thrill that finally allow me to understand sports fanatics. And since Drag Race is back with All Stars 6, I figured what better show to start with. And I won't always be using Drag Race for highlights, but for now I am. So let's get to it. Let's start with a segment I'm calling Previously On, where we briefly review what happened last week. Now, last week was actually a pretty big week since 2 new episodes dropped on Paramount Plus, and we got our first look at our returning queens. Here they are. Since it's the premiere, let me just briefly highlight who all these lovely queens are. First up, Kylie Sonique Love. She is from season 2, where she placed in 9th place. Next up is Pandora Box. She's also back all the way from season 2, where she placed in 5th place. She also appeared on the first season of All Stars, where she placed in 11th and 12th place adjacent. They were eliminated as teams that season. Then we have Yara Sofia, who is from season 3, where she placed in 4th place. And she was also on the first edition of All Stars, where she placed in 5th, 6th place with her teammate. Jiggly Caliente is from season 4, and she placed in 8th place. Serena Chacha is from season 5, where she left immediately and placed in 13th place. Trinity K. Bonet is from season 6, and she originally placed in 7th place. Ginger Minge is from season 7, where she initially placed in 2nd, 3rd place as a tie for runner-up. She was also in All Stars 2, where she placed in 8th place. Next is Eureka. I guess she's not going by Eureka O'Hara anymore. I'm not really sure. I don't understand, but she's originally from season 9, where she placed in 11th place. She had to leave early due to an injury, and then she came back on season 10 and went all the way to the lip sync battle for the crown and placed in 2nd, 3rd place. Scarlet Envy is from season 11, and brace yourself, there's a lot of season 11 queens on this edition of All Stars for some reason, but she initially placed in 10th place. Raja O'Hara is from season 11, and she initially placed in 9th place. Akiria C. Davenport is also from season 11, and she placed in 3rd, 4th place in the battle for the crown. Silky Nutmeg Ganache is also from season 11, and also placed 3rd, 4th place in that battle for the crown. Jan was really just at Drag Race on season 12, and she placed in 8th place. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's really get into this. The variety show is an all-stars tradition where each queen highlights their talent. Yara Sofia wowed the judges with her talented breasts and was the top queen of the week, having to battle a secret lip-sync assassin, Coco Montrese, for not only some extra cash, but the power to choose who gets eliminated instead of the vote done by the other queens. Serena Chacha and Trinity K. Bonet were up for the chop, and Yara lost the lip sync for her legacy, losing the tip and the elimination power, meaning the group got to send someone home, and Serena left. The next week was the Blue Ball, a sewing challenge. Yara went from the top, plummeting straight into the bottom with Jiggly Caliente, while Raja O'Hara nabbed the top spot. Raja and lip sync assassin Brooklyn Heights battled for their legacies and ended in a tie, still giving Raja the cash tip and allowing both Raja and the rest of the queens the power to eliminate. Luckily, as always seems to be the case in this situation, they happened to choose the same person, meaning Jiggly left and Yara got to slay another day. Now, before getting into the stats leading into tonight's episode, let's look at some top Twitter reactions from the 2-hour premiere. It's time for top tweets. Oh, I love Twitter. But real quick, let's look at breaking Drag Race news coming after last week's episodes. Canada's Drag Race continues to have shakeups as they lost another judge, seemingly due to the COVID restrictions, so not as juicy as Jeffrey's exit after fans seemed to hate him on the panel last season. Instead, Brooklyn will have two new faces joining her to share the weight. It'll be interesting to see if that breathes new life into the second season and whether or not they still do guest hosts each week, which is a confusing format that is different from all other incarnations of Drag Race. MTV announced its first of hopefully a new series of specials called Dragging the Classics, where they take a classic episode of a classic show and redo it with a mix of drag queens and original cast members. Its first incarnation will be a classic Marsha-centric episode of The Brady Bunch, with Bianca Del Rio, Shea Coulee, Kylie Sonique Love, Ben de la Creme, Nina West, and Candy Muse joining the original Brady cast. Simone continues her current reign. That's it. That's the story. Recently covering Paper Magazine along with some bottles of Sky Vodka, whom she has an advertising contract with. I love me some Simone. I think she's fantastic. But those are the headlines. Okay, let's get into some stats. It's time for the scoreboard. So these are the queens we started with. And as the dark and dreary gray abyss of elimination sets in, here's who we have left. Here's the current order of eliminated queens. Interesting to note, Serena Cha-Cha came in 13th place on both her original season and this All-Stars season. Tonight we will see who gets the chop and lands in that 11th place spot after Jiggly Caliente. So far, out of the queens that are left, Trinity and Yara have both in the bottom two one time, with everyone else either being safe or winning the top spot so far. This, of course, will change drastically as we go through the season and start knocking some queens down. Yara and Raja both have one challenge win under their belts. However, Raja won her legacy lip sync in a tie, but still a win, and managed to get not only her tip, but the tip Yara lost the previous episode that rolled over, meaning she already has 20,000 bucks in her wallet, and the season has just started. And this week's episode is called Side Hustles, and I believe it will be a branding challenge, which will be interesting to see unfold. And that's pretty much it. So that's everything you should need to know going into this next episode of Drag Race, and I will be recapping that for next week. So there you have it. Thank you for going over the highlights with me, and I'll see you next week.